All right, everyone, we are back with another off-season war. Today we'll be taking in Manthing, Emma Frost, and Nebula. I will be taking Path 9 in Section 1 and Path 3 in Section 2. All right, so this first fight on Path 9, I figured this Elsa would have suicides, so that was why I brought Emma. She's poison and incinerate immune, among other things, while in diamond form. So the game plan here was to get out of telepath form as soon as possible, mostly by throwing SP1 right as Elsa's about to gain her SP1. If she's already not beating me in the power gain race. And she won't be because I'll be trying to bait out SP1s here most of the fight. So you see we're in diamond form, now we're in telepath. I threw this too early thinking it was going to convert me right away, but Elsa's got to hit a bar of power, and there we go, we're back in diamond. And that's pretty much the fight. You're going to see a little bit cleaner with the SP1s later on, where I'm actually throwing them as Elsa's going to pass or cross into a bar of power. Little shy there as well. Doesn't last too long. And then down she goes. So that was actually all I had planned for Emma. The big thing here, we're going to speed it up. I brought Nebula to take some robots later, and for some reason, I guess I was thinking this hazard shift or this shifting hazard path was the bleed shock, and it's obviously not. It's the poison incinerate. So I realized during the incinerate phase that I would have to play super passive, hidden to block, and do a lot of parrying myself. And against this Hulkbuster, I just decided to speed this film up because it just takes forever. The fact that I can do nothing about his armor ups reduces my offensive ability accuracy and therefore affects how well I can place shock on him, mainly through doubling it with SP2. So if you end up slowing this video down on your own or pausing it, you're going to see after SP2s that the converting or doubling of those shocks that are placed are inconsistent, and that's because of the reduced ability accuracy. I think there's even one point where I have over 10, and I do the SP2, and it drops it down to 3. But mostly my game plan here was to actually build charges and let the parry shocks do some of the damage, build to SP3, and let some of the hits that I'm throwing build shock on their own. And that was pretty much all my damage, all of where my damage was coming from. Both Emma and Nebula are ranked 2, so the fact that this Hulkbuster did not have suicides made this fight a lot longer, and I did not feel like dragging you guys through that. So luckily, even though this fight took forever without boosts into rank 2, we ended up soloing, so it wasn't too big of a deal. It actually did get close here at the end, but luckily we played it well enough, and I think that was all block damage. So yeah, don't use Nebula there. All right, and then because I took the shifting hazards path, I figured this sorcerer was mine and that someone probably wouldn't bring a counter. So I decided to go ahead and just use Nebula to see how it goes. But of course, with high ground and waiting out specials and mystic dispersion and waiting out the incinerate phase, this is not that great at all of an option. I'd say I didn't solo this under the poor circumstances because I just failed to dex and actually ended up blocking too many hits with too many high ground charges. So it is what it is. Sped through this one too because I don't feel like there's much to learn. I would not use Nebula here, especially since the shocks are going to speed up high ground. So yeah, I think I get her to about 50%. So I don't make it too bad. And then my second attempt, I go ahead and clean it up with Emma, which again is a little bit risky. I mean, very risky. Mostly because Sorcerer Supreme has an armor break. So it's going to keep Emma out of diamond form quite a bit after she throws special attacks. And since she's got a lot of passive power gain, it's hard to just wait the armor up out and hope. And there was that blocked hit with a lot of high ground. It's hard to wait the armor break out and hope that you can go back into battle in diamond form. So it definitely got close. You see Emma here, she's not suffering too bad with health. And we're getting rid of a decent amount of Sorcerer Supreme's health, but as soon as an armor break places, which it hasn't yet, we have to go ahead and dance. I think it's coming up with this SB1 that she's gonna throw right there. So probably could have stuck with having Sorcerer Supreme throw SB2. But yeah, it is what it is. Again, sped it up through here. Not really an option I'd recommend, but hey, we cleaned it up. Ah, yes, that's where it was. Tried to intercept while she had an SB1. She decided to throw it. The AI is getting a lot smarter in the off season. All right, so the real fight I wanted to test Nebula for, or just practice, not really test. I know this works. It's this Dragonman here. Nebula has a nifty ability where if she has 5 shocks, she'll reduce robotic ability accuracy by 100%. So it's 20% per shock charge. So it's just get to 5 before the next power gain charge shows up, and it'll remove it. The same way concussion does if you're quaking Dragonman, and concussion's up right when the timer ends. So here I'm trying to bait out this SB2. I think I'm going to take an SB3, and it's just going to make it not worth it. Luckily, he throws SB2 right before getting to SB1. We have enough shock charges, so this should, boom, power gain charge is gone. So now the fight is super in control. It's really just build shock charges and either do the damage through placing a lot of shocks and then doubling them with SB2, or build to SB3, build a lot of shocks, and then double it with SB2. Whichever you feel is going to be the fastest, or you have time for, or whatever the node allows. If there's a lot of blocking allowed, I'd say you can probably just build charges and then use SB2. So this node here, it's pretty easy to do that with. There's not kinetic transference, for example, where you probably wouldn't want to block as much. But it's pretty much down. This is a rank 2 Nebula, so this obviously that first SB2 would have just ended it, especially boosted. Boosted at a rank 2, she probably still would have ended that fight. So we take that little bit there and we end the fight. Easy peasy. So good test run. Manthing came because the Silver Surfer is here on this shared node. You guys have seen me take him here before. I am going to use an APB and overflow, just so that we can get the rotation of this fight going, where we don't have to worry about strike counter. We throw that SB1, we pop those spores, or those pustules, and then rinse and repeat. Throw whatever special attack Manthing is at for the next combo, and never ever worry about building any of those charges. I have a hunch that sometimes the AI is less liberal with their special attacks when you're not boosted, but maybe the 3-minute boost was enough here for this Silver Surfer to finally throw special attacks. He was quite stubborn, but he was very willing to throw SB2 in this fight, so it did not take long. Their buffet triggered, kind of unfortunate. We didn't have any poison placed. It's fine. We're on special rotation spree with Manthing, and that's kind of the beauty of him with Mystic Dispersion. You just add buffs, remove buffs, build power, add buffs, remove buffs, build power. It's kind of fun. Same thing with Mojo. They just kind of thrive off of MD, and you pretty much effortlessly just throw special attacks to end the opponent and laugh at them, which I am doing with this Silver Surfer. I know this has been a pain point for a lot of people, a lot of alliances. I think Archangel, Apocalypse Archangel, or Horseman Archangel is everyone's go-to, but who knows with bans. All right, and this next one, getting close to the end of the war. I figured, hey, why not? Let's throw Nebula at this, see how she does, see if she can out damage, and if the unblockable at the 50% and below mark is going to be a pain for her. And to be honest, if I had been able to play this like I know how to play, instead of taking hits to the face and missing blocks, she probably would have been able to solo this. But again, like I said earlier with Nebula against Dragonman, I wasn't really sure between building charges and using SB2 or build to SB3, place those charges, and then throw SB2. I wasn't sure which rotation would be best. I think in the later half of this fight, since he'd be unblockable, the build to SB3 to SB2 is probably the better rotation. But at the start, it's probably easier to get to that 50 and below mark by building charges and then doubling it with SB2. So as you see here, I built to SB3. And we're going to attack and place a bunch of shocks on him. I was being very mindful of baiting out his special attacks in case he had Mystic Dispersion, but I believe I realized part of the way through the fight he wasn't gaining any energy, any power from buffs expiring, so I don't think he had Mystic Dispersion, which is very convenient. It definitely speeds this fight up a lot, not having to bait out special attacks. So here we are, SB2, he's got, oh, and we got hit. That's what it was. Couldn't double those charges, so we double a little bit. So we missed one block and ate it all in the face. I believe we're gonna do the exact same thing and it's gonna end it. But right around his 50% health bar mark. So she could be an option. Again, this is a rank 2 without boosts. Obviously, if any of your ideal options get banned, this might be a possibility, especially if you're already bringing her for a robot parried. That's what it was. Anyways, that was that war. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit subscribe, and I will catch you guys at the next one.